Are you a technician who wants to set yourself apart? Then the Trusted Technician podcast is for you. I'm Derek Hoferter, coach and trainer at SBE, and on this podcast, we will have experienced HVAC coaches and trainers, as well as top-performing technicians, all sharing their tips and strategies to help you be more successful. Welcome back to another episode of the Trusted Technician podcast. Today's guest is Carlos. Carlos is the residential sales manager at Aqua Plumbing and Air in sunny Florida.
Yes.
Carlos, welcome.
Hey, Derek, nice to be with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking time out of your day just to get started so everyone kind of gets to know who they're hearing from. Carlos, how did you get into the trades?
Yeah, that's a great question. I, believe it or not, got into it just by trial and error. I was that young kid who was a little bit lost, right? I got out of the Marine Corps a little bit earlier than I should. I signed up for 4 years, only ended up spending about a year in the Marines. That's another story. And, I was kind of lost. I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. So I took basically any job that I can get. Through just meeting my wife at the time, she was my girlfriend. Her dad did remodeling, and that's how I really started to get my hands dirty and learning about, using a hammer. I didn't grow up with a dad, and that really was a big help for me. And my father-in-law, he's just super talented. And the only thing he told me was like, the one thing I just don't know how to do is air conditioning. And he's like, son, in Florida, if you know how to do air conditioning, you can go far. And that's kind of what sparked the interest in it. And yeah, I found a company local in Clearwater where there was a gentleman who was willing to give me a chance. And I am so grateful that he gave me that chance. It's changed my life.
Yeah, I mean, now the residential sales manager. But what was that first role that you had? What was that chance? It was doing what?
Yeah, that first role was maintenance. Maintenance tech, going out on calls. And funny story. My first day, I'll never forget. I get to a unit, and obviously, I did the training. I rode along with someone. But that first call, where you're completely by yourself on your own, I mean, I froze my hands with the refrigerant. Had the black nail. Hit my head on like the little light that hangs on the side of the garage. Just all the small things. And I remember I cut my hand. I was so miserable. And I was thinking, my God, am I ever going to be able to do this? Right. But at the same time, I was curious, and I was like, this is a new chapter for me. So it worked out really well.
Yeah, and how long ago was that you got that first role?
That would be, it's about 15 years ago.
Okay, so 15 years later,
yeah.
What have you enjoyed the most about HVAC plumbing being in the trades?
Yeah, I mean, it's been several things, Derek. I mean, the first thing that really attracted me to HVAC was being able to solve a problem on a technical standpoint, understanding the science between, thermodynamics and how it all works, and electrical and motors and all that stuff just really attracted me. It made me feel like I had the ability to help somebody else using an expertise. That kind of morphed over time. There was only, for me, there's nothing wrong with it. Some people love that part of it. For me, it transpired into helping people. It was more of a people thing. But every now and then I still miss, getting a little dirty and figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
So right now, I would say right now is working with people, but the HVAC part of it, it was really the science behind it that really brought me in.
No, nice. Interesting. And then other than, you mentioned injuring yourselves a few times when you were starting out and cutting yourself and hitting your head.
Yeah.
Other than that, what have been kind of like the challenges or what is currently like your challenge with the trades?
Yeah. I mean, early on, the challenge was I felt like I was drinking from a fire hydrant. There was just so much knowledge, and I thought I'm never going to be able to get all this and keep it in and retain it and progress. But there's just something about staying in the fight, even when you feel like you're overwhelmed. Eventually just starts to kind of maybe through osmosis or whatever, it starts to stick. And the first challenge that I had was being intimidated, intimidated by all of it for sure. My current challenges right now, I would say, are honestly the biggest challenge is communication, right? Communication with either customers or communication with some of the guys that I help lead here, and just being able to connect with them, because I know if I can connect with them, anything could happen. And anytime you're working with humans, that could be an obstacle, right?
People are messy.
We're all different. We're all different.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I want to get your perspective now on kind of being in the manager position and now where it's your job to help technicians. But before that, let's travel back to when you're a technician. And Carlos, I know, I've known you for a while, and I know you were a very high performing technician. What goes into being a high performing technician? A lot of technicians are very good. What I mean is they can find the problem, they can fix anything, but that doesn't mean they're a high performing technician. So in your opinion, like what goes into being a high performing technician?
Yeah, no, that's an awesome question. What goes into being a high performing technician is number one, mindset. You have to believe that you can do that, right? You have to want to. There's got to be a why. Nothing happens really at any point in anything if you don't have your why. Waking up in the morning going, why am I going out there, right? Maybe when you're younger, you're just worried about, I want that nice ride, right? I want that the nice shirt or whatever it is that drives you. As you get older, maybe you get married, man. Now it's giving a future for your spouse, and then maybe you have kids, and now you definitely have something to go out there and work for. But mindset, making sure that you set yourself up with the right process mentally before you do anything. I mean, this is cleaning the house, your marriage, right? Your health, work. The moment you set these rules up for your life and you take the time, you stop and you take the time to really hone that skill of mindset, the proper mindset, you can do anything. You can do anything. And I think what happens with most technicians, it happened to me, again, you just get stuck in the next call and the daily grind and the sweating and the, I need more R410A, or I'm running out of silver tape. You get stuck in the details, and sometimes you don't look up and go, hey, where am I at? So being able to stop and say, okay, what is it that I want for my life? Why do I want that? And then going, how am I going to get there? And then sticking to that process, and not trying to eat the whole elephant at one time, just 1% at a time, one little bit at a time, and making sure that you look up every now and then, go, is this ship going in the right direction?
Yeah, that's so good. Because I do know a lot of techs that struggle. Like I said, they're good with the skills of being a tech. That's not the issue at play here, right? They know every part, they know how to do every repair, but they really struggle with the mindset, like you're talking about. And that could be, no one's going to want to pay for this service, no one's going to want to choose this option, no one's going to want to listen to me go into recommendations. That all to me is like the head trash stuff. The mind, it's all in your head, right?
Absolutely. I mean, right now we can all sit here and go, well, the tariffs, right? It's the economy. We can look at all these things. I'm not saying they don't have an impact, right? They can, but all we can control as humans is our reaction to things, right? So whatever variable that we can control, that's what we should focus on. And I used to say that's what we should worry about, but even that's incorrect, right? You should be able to look at something and go, I want to achieve this. What do I have to get done? And if you don't know, ask, right? Ask. Let's say you want to build a home, a custom home. You don't know how to do that. Start asking folks, right? When it comes to the HVAC, a residential tech, I think starting the day and going, today I'm going to help people, making it about others and not about yourself. And now I know it's hard to say this because I've been there, not thinking about money, right? The biggest obstacle sometimes in our head is money. Mm-hmm. And the funniest thing is when you get that out of the way, then the money comes. It's this weird the paradigm shift that you have to go through and go, let me just put all that stuff to the side and let me really focus on that customer, right? And that homeowner. I don't even like to call them customer, that homeowner, and or even just that human in front of you, right? If you want to even look at it more profoundly, look at that human in front of you and say, how can I help this person? It might not even be HVAC that day, right? If you go in with that kind of mindset and soul, when they start asking you HVAC questions, which you have the knowledge of, right? If you're being trained properly and all that, I mean, those answers are going to flow naturally, and those opportunities are going to show up like big beach balls. You know, all of a sudden they're all over the place. But if we close our mind and we just go, well, the tariffs and another call, you pull up to the house and go, oh my gosh, look at the house. The house looks trash. There's nothing here, right? I mean, that you can tell yourself whatever you want to believe, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? As they call it at that point, on what the outcome is going to be. Okay, so you transition now to, management. And so now it's a change in purpose, because I think like the being in the field, high performing is essentially, your ability to generate revenue
Yeah.
to provide, for your customers, and then in return, like you're talking about, provide for the company, for yourself, all that. Now, as a manager, I always say the purpose of the manager is to get the team to their potential.
Correct.
So now talk to me a little bit about that. Like, because a lot of times, like if we look at sports, the high performing athlete a lot of times doesn't make the best coach. Like Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky,
Yeah.
they don't necessarily make, because I think for a lot of them, they were so good internally inside their own head that sometimes it's hard for them to translate that externally to other people. So talk to me now about your purpose is to create high achievers, performers. How does that work? How do you go about
Yeah.
doing that?
Yeah, everything in life is learned, right? I mean, we're not born doctors or anything, so everything's learned. And you're right. This first year of transitioning, I guess it's been over a year and a half now of this new position. Those first couple weeks, there, I just wanted to get it done myself,
Yeah,
because that's my mindset. It's like, well, let me just do it for them. Let me just help them out with the quotes. Let me just make the quote. Let me just put them on the phone. I'll help you. And just because I was trying to make them, see that they can do it and how it's done. But the transition has been funny in the sense that that's not really what's going to help them, right? So
right.
now it's kind of like in the military, you say it's a force multiplier, right? So I'm going to try and, in a sense, replicate myself to get all of these people to their best. That transition has been fun actually, because I've gotten to know some of these guys, and you start finding out their why. And sometimes they have some down days and they're good days, and you become more than just like a sales manager, right? You're trying to build people up. Um, the craziest transition piece is figuring out how to speak to these different personalities and how they communicate. I'm sure you've heard of like the DISC assessment for
Mhm.
personality and traits and
Yeah,
all that, and we all have them. So some guys are just really analytical, right? And you got to keep it basic with them. Just tell them to work on one thing. I have guys on my team that they are very emotionally and socially intelligent, right? So I can have a different conversation with them, and just trying to see what is the best play for this person, right? And sometimes you have to be direct, but sometimes you have to say it in a very soft tone. So navigating all of that
yeah,
to find that balance of, we need to kind of do this without going, do this because I said so. That's been the key transition there, and it's fun to
yeah,
watch. It's fun to watch them grow and try stuff.
yeah. That's good. I'm speaking in a very generalization right now, but a lot of times, like the high performers lean into every resource they have available, like books, podcasts, coaches, training, the other techs, the senior techs, the managers, they'll lean into everything that they have because I think it's that mindset, like you said, of what's going to get me 1% better today. And then again, generalizing, there's exceptions to every rule, but a lot of times the mid or lower performers tend to try to figure it out on their own a little bit. Like there's almost like an avoidance of some of those things, almost like leave me alone or I'll figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
So obviously now you've got a team and you see the different people. If you're speaking to a technician that's listening to this right now, how would you suggest to them that they utilize their manager? Or like how do you use your manager as a resource if you're a technician?
Oh, that's awesome question. I mean, that's why we're here. I think what happens is we get lost in the title world, right? One of the things I love about SBE is like really shouldn't be a sales manager, should be a sales leader, right? Somebody that comes alongside you and supports you, right? If you're a technician that's out there and you're struggling, first things first, it was for me, I was a very, very prideful person. I'm still working on that, right? And I noticed just how much me myself, I was cutting myself at the knees by having pride and going, I don't need anyone's help. And when I just stopped doing that and I said, look, can you show me that? Would you mind? Hey, first of all, people were willing to help more than I thought. But if you're a technician, right, ask hey, Mr. Whoever your boss is or whatever, whoever your manager is, just ask them, would you be willing to carve some time? Like, I really you seem like you know what you're doing. You know, is there a time that you can carve out, maybe 10 minutes that you can go over this with me? Right. First of all, that shows that initiative of asking. It's like a five-legged unicorn these days, right? It's incredible. That shows you everything because everything else can be learned, right? So a technician asking other technicians who are, maybe have more experience, leaders in the organization, or even just honestly going on your own on SBE and finding things out on your own. These podcasts are great. Using that leverage, I mean, you have so much information to help you, is so powerful. If you're a technician that's thinking, I just keep doing it on my own, you're missing out on a lot. And you'll discover that there's pieces of information that are so tiny. I mean, you think they're massive and they're small. And when you're able to really hone them in, they change everything. And I've experienced that myself with my coach with Chris Horn. He'll come and he'll share just one little sentence and it just hits me like, pow. And I'm like, why didn't I stop and think about that? Right. And for him, it's probably just another day. But for me, it was life altering, right? My day to day. So a technician that asks is just going to perform better. You also give yourself this camaraderie, right? It's like a team thing. If a technician comes out to me and asks me for help, hey, I got a question about airflow. I mean, this really does happen, right? Airflow. Or what would you say when this happens, right? When a customer says, XYZ, how would you respond to that, right? I've probably faced that situation 1,000 times in the past 2 years, right? So I have the answers, right? And I, again, sometimes out of pride, got to those answers by sheer trial and error. And then when I just asked a simple question, someone said, oh, by the way, you can say XYZ and think about it. And Corey's a great trainer, and his trainings, he sometimes just says, when you say this, what do you mean? And then that's it. I mean, just that little bit, and they just give you everything that you need. But if you don't get that information, you can't use it, Hopefully that answers your question. It's really coming.
No, it does because I know, I just know the reality of it. Like when someone moves into a management position, there's a lot of hats. There's a lot of admin tasks. There's a lot of demands on your attention. Like you might hope, to be able to fully just be a coach or things like that, but there's a lot that goes into that responsibility. So in some ways, the technician being proactive and not just waiting, it's a little bit of like the squeaky wheel thing, right? Like
I hate to say it. Right. Yeah, I hate to say it, you're right. And it's happened to me. I mean, if my guys are going to watch this, which they should, they're going to be like, that's right. He doesn't answer the phone. No. And it's what happens, you know, you have so many other tasks that you got to accomplish. I'm helping out with marketing, financing, SBE, right? The training, the website, customer complaints sometimes, right?
Mhm.
Looking at different processes in-house to see where we can get better. I'm helping out with install, code. I mean, there's just a lot to get through. And, you know, guys like, hey, I got a question about, I got a question about, you know, this objection, right? If, if the guy doesn't reach out to me, I don't even know what's happening. I have a million
Yeah.
things in my mind. But if he says, hey, Carlos, remember I asked you about that customer that's just giving me a little bit of trouble. Can we carve out some time? I really want to be able to learn this. I mean, that's like a squeaky wheel. And, you know, it also resets me. What I've been trying to do is I've been actually like these ride-alongs is
Mhm.
just carving out that time and going, I don't care what happens during that time. My 1000% focus is on this technician. Um, the first one that I did and the couple ones I did, I was wearing my slacks and my, you know, so people ask me, are you the owner? Or
Oh yeah.
I completely took all the attention off the call. So I'm the next couple ones, I'm going to be wearing a t-shirt and jeans. So it looks like I'm learning, right? Um, but yeah, being that squeaky wheel, being consistent at asking, that's just everything in life. You know, the more you keep at it, the door will be open to you. And then not that I'm closing a door or holding the door, but it just seems like the squeaky wheel gets oiled, you know?
It's the way the world works, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes you got to be the squeaky wheel, right? And the squeaky wheel doesn't just squeak once, right? It kind of squeaks and
No.
squeaks and squeaks until you're like, okay, I got to
Yeah.
take care of the squeaky wheel. Yeah, because yeah, I say this so many times, you know, you probably heard it from us and you probably just know it from your experience, but you know, if you're in that service manager, sales manager role, there's like no bigger impact you can make than like a ride along and a one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
It's focused, it's individual, you can listen, you know, you can know what's going on, you can see exactly what's going on. But at the same time, there's like we talked about, there's so many demands on the service manager, sales manager's time that for most of them, they're like, I have no time to do that. I would love to, but there's no time for it. So I think, you know, most of the audience of this is the technician listening to this,
Yeah.
like ask, right? Like, you know, ask and, you know, even like not like, hey, can you do it tomorrow? But maybe even like, hey, next month, can we schedule, you know, some time and
Yeah.
block it out for like a ride along? I think the whole point to this was ask for help, take the initiative, right?
Yeah. And another thing, you know, if you're a technician and let's say you don't have a manager is willing to do that, or maybe they're too busy, or your company's in some transition phase where that position's not filled. I've seen that too. Um, you know, be proactive. Grab, you know, some of these, they have little cameras or just even like a microphone where you can record. Um, it's a little bit better when you're able to see it, right? Set up a camera at home, right? Talk to your wife, like it sounds silly and it sounds dumb, and I'm not going to do that crap and all that. But the guys who do this are the ones that hit that next level. And it wasn't that they were smarter or just brilliant. Oh my God, they're amazing. No, they just took that little extra step, that 1% difference, right? Over and over and over becomes 30%, 40% difference. And that shows up on the rankings, right? It shows up on your income. So, you know, I did that a lot. I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought I was smiling when I was talking. I wasn't. I was talking like this. And you realize that, you know, your tone changes and you know, it comes off different. So honing those little skills are massive, 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 massive. Recording yourself. I've even thought about buying those Google glasses that you can record, but I found out that there's a little light that turns on.
Oh,
People were going to know. Um, that way I can kind of, I've been trying to find more efficient ways to train all the guys, right? Let me go run a sales call or a call and record, and they can see everything I'm doing, and they can see the customer go, or watch them go like this,
mm,
right? Those little nonverbal cues. But if you're a technician, get in there. There's so much knowledge in SBE, the trainings. Ask your management. It's like, look, I know you guys are busy. If there's a regional training or local training that's coming up, please, I'd love to go. I'd love to go. There's nothing like seeing it done live. I mean, at the end of the day, that should really be the manager's. That's the leadership, right?
Yeah.
Is being there for the guys.
To that point, like I think there's a ton of companies that would love to send their technicians to training and class, but they worry that they're not going to want to go, not going to pay attention, not going to use it or implement it, and they're worried that it's going to be a waste of time and
Yeah,
money. So I think, yeah, if someone came and was like, "Hey, I really want to go do this. I could see how it would help me." I think most companies would be all over that. Of yeah, absolutely, because I think most people recognize the ROI from training.
yeah.
They're just worried about the willingness of the person to actually engage with it and use it. So if you're proactive asking for it, I think that's like a dream
It
scenario for most
is. It
companies.
is. I have one technician. His name is Franco Zambrano. I think he was supposed to be on your podcast, and something happened, and it was my fault. It was a scheduling error. It was my fault. So I'll take. But Franco is very new to the industry. I think it's about a year and a half now. He's been with us, and he's doing phenomenal. And one thing that I noticed about him, he would hang out after the meetings and just say, "Hey, um, I have a question about this. I have a question about that." But one day he came up to me, and I mean, look how much it stuck with me, right? He came up to me and said, "Hey," and he'd always call me sir, and I was like, just, don't call me sir. But he's like, "Hey, uh, if there's anything that I can do outside of work, any videos or trainings that you would recommend, or if you're going to have a class here, so is there anything that you could recommend that maybe I can do outside of work that would just help me to get better?" I mean, I saw that in Franco, and I just said, this guy's going to succeed. Doesn't matter what he does, right? And even though he's got very little time in um, in the industry, he's performing very well. And when that experience finally all gels together, because some things take time. When that all comes together, he's going to be like top of the top.
He's gonna be a superstar.
Yeah, and I'm gonna remember the days, he's asking me if there's anything extracurricular that I can do. But that's what's the difference in what we do, right? As a technician, as a manager, as a husband, as a son, a friend, it's just taking that little extra step. I think that's what's missing in this world right now. Everyone's giving like the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
Wherever you go and whatever you do, it's like the bare minimum. So if you're just willing to take that little bit of 1%, just focus. You know what? Today I'm going to set my mind right. Or today I'm just going to listen for 5 minutes to a book like Atomic Habits, right? Just 5 minutes. Give yourself 5 minutes. Those are 5 minutes that you're not on TikTok or whatever you're on that are just going to help you get better, and you'll get there.
Yeah. Atomic Habits, great book recommendation. There's another one too called The Slight Edge, which is kind of a similar deal. If you loved Atomic Habits, you'll love Slight Edge. But it's basically like, yeah, just instead of listening to music for your 20-minute drive, what if you listen to a podcast like this?
Yeah.
Those 15 minutes in that moment, but imagine doing that for a year, or doing it for 2 years or 3 years, or 5 minutes of role play every day in the
Right.
moment doesn't change anything, but imagine doing that for a year or 2 years, and that's just the little tiny slight edge that you
Right.
have over everybody else.
I like that. I like this, the slight edge. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure a lot of techs get a lot of windshield time. I did. I listened to the Bible twice over, so it definitely, you don't realize how much windshield time you get. But that windshield time could be also, instead of listening to the news, because for like a couple of years, that's all I was listening to. I can tell you everything that was happening in Nigeria and all this. It's worthless, right? I switched that Audible or these podcasts, right? And man, you're hitting these calls. By the time you get into that call, you're like, man, I'm ready to perform, right? Because you're being loaded with good, positive stuff. You're taking all that garbage and getting it out. And so when you
I
do
no, I completely agree. After I read The Slight Edge, I used to always my windshield time. I used to always just listen to sports radio.
yeah,
And it's like, it's entertaining, but it is pretty like mindless. Like, and a lot of times they're rehashing the same thing over and over again. There isn't really anything new. And I switched that time with educational podcasts. And it's
Yeah.
just like my education is just like now a little slight edge over everybody else. And now my knowledge has just grown. All right, Carlos, I got to let you get out of here. I know you're busy guy. So before I let you go, any last piece of advice or anything, you didn't get to say that you'd like to leave with people that are listening to this?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, be brave. I tell my daughter, be brave, go out there, fail, fall on your face, right? Fail. It's okay. Go out there, try new things. What's the worst that could happen? You'll be right back where you're at right now. So if you're at a place in life, professionally, personally, where you feel like I can't make a change, make the change, right? Read a book, go to the trainings, ask for help, right? Learn and try it, be uncomfortable a little bit. That's part of life. You know what? Most good things are on the other side of fear. That's my biggest advice to technicians out there. All your hopes and dreams, you can really get to them. You just need to be willing to overcome that fear and fall on your face and get up, and you'll be like, yeah, it's not so bad. I can do this. And you'll learn a lot about yourself in the way. And eventually you can help other people with that.
It's true. That's such a good point. Carlos, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Trusted Technician Podcast. If you would like to learn more about SBE, you can find us online at sbeodyssey.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would appreciate it if you would leave us a review. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.